Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates and some more Star Wars gaming news. I've both got some updates regarding Battlefront 2 as well as some stuff about Star Wars games in general, which is kind of a follow-up on the cancelled open world game. So I'm gonna start off with that. So Jason, the author of that article, who seems to have a lot of inside sources, gave us a bit of an update on why it was cancelled and also the future of some other Star Wars games that we so far actually didn't know about, I think. So starting off, the reason to why this was cancelled, or actually let's start off with what this was. According to Jason and his sources, the game was codenamed Orca and was in very early development. So like I said, it was probably many years out from being released. But it would involve playing as a scoundrel or bounty hunter who would explore the various open world planets of the Star Wars galaxy and work with different factions across the Star Wars universe, which sounds bloody awesome if you ask me. That's exactly the kind of open world game I would love to see. But apparently that was cancelled. And the reason to why they cancelled it is because they were looking at the roadmap over the next couple of years and decided that they needed to release something earlier, because Orca would take so many years to develop. So they didn't cancel it and lay people off, but they cancelled it and moved them to another Star Wars project, which is aimed to be released much sooner, likely late 2020, which is apparently, according to him, around the release of the next-gen consoles, potentially. So that's quite interesting, and I mean, obviously getting that game cancelled is still bad news, especially considering it sounded really good. But no one's being laid off and they're still working on Star Wars games, and it's just going to be a different Star Wars game. I'm not sure what that refers to as a smaller Star Wars game and what kind of stuff that could be, but they are still working on a Star Wars project over there at EA Vancouver, which is good to know at least. 2020 isn't that far out, considering that we're getting Fallen Order late 2019 and then potentially this game late 2020. And on top of that, in another post he did kind of summarize EA Star Wars games since 2013, with obviously Battlefront 1 and 2, the cancelled Visceral game, Jedi Fallen Order, the new game from EA Motive Vancouver, but also the fact that Motive Montreal's smaller thing not announced yet. So this I'm pretty curious about, and to be clear, mobile stuff is a separate point here, so it's not a mobile game that's being referred to as a smaller thing, but apparently Motive Montreal, because it's a bit confusing. I think there's EA Vancouver / Motive, but then there's also Motive Montreal. And they, according to Jason, are working on something smaller, but that has completely been under the radar and has not been announced yet. So if that's something that's been worked on for a while, maybe that's also something for 2020 or maybe even this year if you're really lucky, although I highly doubt it. So that suddenly kind of changes the future of Star Wars games to the point where we have both Motive Montreal's smaller thing to see maybe next year or the year after, as well as the new game that they're working on instead of the open world game that might be 2020. It's really hard to judge whether this is good or not, simply because we have no idea the scope of these games, what the games are about, or anything like that. All this really gives us is an idea of the fact that they are working on Star Wars games. We've got the Fallen Order this year, and then Vancouver's and Montreal's two different games. But again, this is from Jason, so take it with a grain of salt. He seems to have been correct with pretty much all the information so far. So I'd imagine that his sources are probably very credible, considering that he has multiple people within EA apparently that's feeding him this information. But I wanted to bring it up nevertheless, as it at least gives a little bit more light in the darkness in terms of Star Wars games, as compared to how it felt after the initial article yesterday. Moving on to some Battlefront 2 news. First of all, Ben tweeted this about the large-scale game mode. A bit of talk as of late around the new mode coming to Star Wars Battlefront 2. We'll be talking more in the coming weeks, but just to let you know that playtests are going well. It's good fun. Looking forward to its release. We're still to decide upon a name for it. And there was a lot of different developers and producers tweeting out about that yesterday. It seems like they basically had a big meeting where they tried to brainstorm a name for the game mode. And it's probably trickier than you might think, because I was thinking about it and I wasn't really sure. They're not going to call it just Conquest, and they can't just say Galactic Conquest, because that's something else, so that would maybe be misleading. But Galactic Domination or something like that, it's really tricky. And Titan seems to be in the work in progress name based on the data mines, but Titan is not really Star Wars. Is Galactic Titan? I don't know. It's not really a big deal what the game mode is called. The important thing is that it's good, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about that in February. but it seems like it's coming to a wrap now, or they're wrapping up that game mode to be finished to be released, obviously, since that's like a month from now. So I'm very excited to hear more about that next month and see what's actually in store for it. As for this month and the updates, they've confirmed that the Dooku community transmission will be coming early next week. So since the update is on Wednesday, I'd imagine probably Monday or Tuesday. And Ben did say that it's kind of out of his hands because, as always, he finishes the community transmissions and then they had to go through all the slow approval processes, so that's basically what they are waiting for right now. Guillaume has also confirmed that Vader's Force Choke and Kylo Ren's Frenzy will be fixed in the upcoming patch, which is also next Wednesday. And Ben has mentioned that there will be force power fixes, so that could be those two, but if you're lucky there's going to be some other fixes as well, as I'd love to get a fix for like the different push abilities in the game, and similarly especially for the Unleash and for Obi-Wan's force push cancelling itself. So we'll see. Probably get in that community transmission, I'd imagine we get both details about Dooku and the actual patch details. And when asked if they have discussed selling different patterns / markings for the clone skins, Ben said yes, we have. So no confirmation really, but I thought it was interesting that they even responded to that. However, I do have the feeling now that they have kind of gone away from the whole trying to make money from skins to more let's make people happy and just make the content they want instead of just pumping out skins, because I think the opportunity to make money off this game has probably gone away, considering that most people have been able to farm credits for so long that most people don't really need to spend money on the game, unfortunately. And lastly, I just wanted to say welcome to Jay, who joined the EA Star Wars team a couple of days ago, or to be more specific, he's actually been in the team for quite a long time, and he's ran the EA Star Wars accounts, and you might have seen him in my stream chat as well, but it seems like he has now officially joined the EA Star Wars team to help out Ben with the various community transmissions and community stuff and things like that, which is good news because it means that they're expanding that team, which hopefully means that they have more plans for Star Wars games and Battlefront 2, which is why they're expanding the team. And Jay has been doing a really good job so far with the EA Star Wars accounts. I mean, he even made it onto prequel memes a couple of times there with some of the the responses out on Instagram, so I think he will do a very good job in the EA Star Wars team. But yeah, that is all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.